Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here to do another video about this incident that I'm hearing about of involving Roger Jackson, the son of Quentin Rampage Jackson, the MMA fighter, the former MMA fighter, or UFC fighter, and a professional wrestler called Stuart Psycho Stu, aka Stuart Smith. Now, this happened at Knox Pro Wrestling, which up to this point was a WWE feeder like organization. WWE has been partnering with several indies in order to train the next generation of talent. And one of them is Knox Pro Wrestling out in California, Rikishi School. So, anyway, uh, Quentin Rampage Jackson's son Roger is in attendance, and he gets to go backstage. And on video, the wrestler uh, Stuart Smith, aka Psycho Stu, crushes a beer can over his head, and they're doing it on camera for kicks, right? For social media, and the guy goes, Psycho Stu says, "Well, you're not going to sell it." He tells Roger Jackson, "You're not going to sell it because he thinks that Roger Jackson is a wrestler." He goes, "You're not going to sell it. You're not going to sell it." And Roger's saying, "Don't play with me. Don't play with me." And other people are saying, "But he's not a worker. He's not a worker. He doesn't know what's going on." And he's saying, "Don't fuck with me. Don't play with me. Don't fucking play with me." Right? He's getting really mad, like for a shoot in real life, he's getting mad. So then they go to the back, they shake hands, everything's cool. AJ Mana, one of the backstage promoters and bookers of this, tells Roger Jackson, "Listen, later on he's gonna have his match, and you could do a run-in in the match, and you could jump in, and you could even hit him for real because." Roger has had like one pro MMA fight. He's not really all that big in the MMA world, like his dad or whatever, but he's had like one fight. So he's like, okay, you could give him a receipt. Now, keep in mind, Roger Jackson doesn't know what a receipt is. He doesn't know any of these wrestling terms. He's just, playing along. They don't know who he is either. So he's like, okay, cool, I'll go in there. He goes in there and he interferes in the match. He jumps over the barricade, and they do a worked body slam. Right? Obviously, Psycho Stu had to help him do the body slam. They do a body slam. Then he gets him to the ground. And he starts pounding the shit out of this guy. I mean, literally trying to kill this motherfucker. Right? Like pounding him for real. Like, and he had to and nobody's stopping him at all. He's just unloading him live rounds, and nobody's stopping him. None of the other wrestlers are stepping in, but he took this advantage, this wrestling spot that they were doing, and he took the opportunity to really almost kill this guy. The guy is in the hospital right now and pressing charges. The LAPD is after Roger Jackson. I believe they have arrested him, you know? And nobody did anything to stop it. Nobody in the promotion did anything to stop it. He completely took advantage of somebody, of the situation, and of uh, Psycho Stu. Now, my thoughts about it. I feel like the person to blame, the real person to blame this on was the promotion. They should have alerted the wrestlers, hey, Quentin Rampage Jackson's son is in the audience and he wants to do something. Let's let him, get in a few shots or whatever. But, tell him to cool it. You know what I mean? When the time is right. The bookers of this promotion, AJ Mana, should have been the one to say, listen, you could get one live round on him, but chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? Cool it. You know what I mean? And then pull them off. But then again, the thing is, in wrestling, bro, I sound like Vince Russo. But anyway, in wrestling, all parties have to be in on it to make it work. If one guy's in on it and the other guy isn't, then it isn't really a work, is it? You know what I mean? It has to be, everybody has to be alerted and have to work things out, what's going to happen. That's the purpose of professional wrestling. That's been the way that the business has been run since the beginning of time, since wrestling came to be over 100 years ago. If that's not the case, if somebody's in there shooting and another person is in there working, then that's not wrestling, bro. That's not wrestling. That's taking advantage of somebody who either cannot or is not trying to defend themselves. And that's why this is so egregious, is because Psycho Stu is out there giving his body to Roger Jackson. He is out there giving himself to you. You know, he is out there trusting you, putting his trust in you that you are going to protect him and make him look good. He's not out there to defend himself. He's out there to put on a show. This is the difference between professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. And really the only difference. Because they're hyped up the same way. They are, you know, a lot of the moves are similar. I mean, look at his father, Quentin Rampage Jackson, used to do a power bomb when he was in Pride, you know, and I think he did that a few times when he was in the UFC. But that's the only difference, right? Other than that, both consist of a combination of grappling and striking and submissions, right? But the difference is one is a sport and one is a show. And when you're in a show, like professional wrestling is, it's fake, it's a work. The people involved in it are giving their bodies to each other. They operate under the assumption that you are going to do the right thing and protect them and not harm them. You know, each participant of this event operates under the assumption that they are safe in the ring because you know what you're doing. You're a professional. That's why that's not why they call it a professional. They call it professional wrestlers, but that is what they are paid to do, be professional. They are not supposed to hurt each other. And definitely, and if you get a celebrity involved, that celebrity has to be, one, properly trained, and two, properly clued in to everything that is going to happen. And if that professional athlete is a fighter, then that professional athlete has to be trained to pull back from his or her aggression. When you get a person like Ronda Rousey in there, when you get a person like Ken Shamrock, when you get a person like Kurt Angle, when you get a person like Brock Lesnar, a person like Raja Jackson, this is even more dangerous because they are used to being in similar situations, but they're used to being in there in a competitive sense. So you have to tell them, listen, ease up, pull back. We've already got their money. You don't need to do this, right? And it wasn't like he pretended like he was clued in. He went to the back after the beer incident and they shook each other's hand. So even more so, Stuart Smith, Psycho Stu, was thinking, okay, cool. We're going to do this thing. We're going to do the angle, because when he body slammed him, he helped him, right? It was obviously he was clued in at that point. It wasn't until he got him on his back when he was defenseless that he mauled him over, right? You know what I mean? He took advantage. He took liberties to the umpth degree. It almost killed this man, who is a veteran, right? He served in, I don't know which war, but I know that he was in the military and he suffers from PTSD, Psycho Stu, right? So this makes the incident even worse. Now, obviously, Roger Jackson, he to me, he suffers from a lot of anger issues. Although he was punching Stuart Smith, it was actually like he was punching his father. Because anybody that knows anything about the relationship between Rampage and his son, he's constantly picking on his son. He's constantly bullying his son, right, on the internet. He's known to be a notorious bully in MMA, right? And he takes it out on his kid. So the kid has anger issues. Being that the kid has anger issues, being that he's not a worker, he doesn't know how to work, he has no idea what he's doing, you know, in there, as far as how to protect his opponent, how to not take advantage of his opponent, how to not take liberties with his opponent. Taking liberties, a wrestler taking liberties with another wrestler is one of the worst offenses that you could do in professional wrestling. Again, because when you're wrestling, that person is not protected. That person is freely giving you their body to do with it as you wish. You know what I mean? It's the equivalent of, say, a porn star. But if a porn star, we're having our sex scene, and all of a sudden, somebody goes, okay, well, fuck what the script says, and they start just aping somebody, right? That would be egregious. That would be an egregious offense to what is going on. Or in a movie, if somebody, a shooting scene, like what happened to Brandon Lee when he shot the Crow. In a shooting scene, imagine if somebody, they had the fake gun, and then all of a sudden, one of the actors brings out a real fucking gun. How would you react to that? You know what I mean? Like, we're supposed to be playing around. This is supposed to be for entertainment. This is supposed to be fake. And you start really going at me, and I have no defenses to it. I have no way to counter it. That would suck. You know what I mean? That would really, really suck. And that would really, really be wrong. And that's what he did. You know what I mean? He picked on somebody who put his trust in him that he was going to do the right thing, and he didn't. He violated in one of the worst ways. But the promotion is to blame, because why tell him? Why did the booker tell him that he was free to shoot on him at least once? Like, you don't know this guy's level of control. You don't know how he can't control his impulses. You don't know him like that. Don't tell him he could shoot on somebody. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure when people were in the ring with Ronda Rousey, when people were in the ring with Ken Shamrock, when people in the ring with Dan Severn, right, all these other shoe fighters and MMA fighters that transitioned or did something in professional wrestling, they were kind of scared. You know what I mean? Because it could get to a point in the action where they could forget that it's a work. You know? As the late Hulk Hogan used to say, ease up, brother. We already got their money. You told Kurt Angle this in 2002 when they worked together. Damien says, Jay, who has the World Heavyweight Championship? Who do you have for the World Heavyweight Championship match this Sunday? Damien, I have the World Heavyweight Championship match. What is it? Seth Rollins versus who? Who's he taking on? I'm not sure. Hold on, let me look it up. Okay, it's a four-way. Oh yeah, that should be a blast. I hate four ways. I hate three ways. I hate four ways. I'm not a fan of those kind of matches. But I know Seth Rollins is going to retain. I mean, really. I mean, the vision is just taking off, and they're not gonna run the risk of taking the belt off Seth Rollins at this point, putting it on anybody else in that match. So obviously Seth Rollins is gonna win. But Static Intel News says, yeah, that was wild. Yeah, it was, man. I mean, a lot of people are comparing this to the incident in 1997 with New Jack, where New Jack almost killed Eric Koulas. And again, who is to blame for that? Well, Eric Koulas lied about his age. He said he was an adult and he wasn't. But who took the blame for it was ECW. Who took the blame for it was Paul Heyman. Because why let a guy in on a supposed reputation? Again, putting outsiders in the ring is very dangerous. We joke about it and even became the center of an angle around the time of SummerSlam. Uh, Between Logan Paul and Jelly Roll. You know what I mean? We joke about it all the time, bringing outsiders and outside celebrities into the wrestling world. But it can be very dangerous because if they don't know what they're doing, and especially if they're not clued in and everybody's not being open and honest, it's not going to work. Professional wrestling works because everybody knows what they're doing and they're professional about it and they agree on it and everything goes over well as rehearsed. Now, Stewart, now Psycho Stu, he was wrong. The promotion was wrong. The booker was wrong. Everybody was in the wrong. But Psycho Stu himself was even in the wrong at first because if you don't know this guy and this guy's backstage, right? Backstage should be a sacred area for wrestlers. Somebody who's not a wrestler should not be back there. You know what I mean? That should be a closed off area. That's their sanctuary. That's where they do their work and respect that. You know what I mean? It's like when you're in church. When you're in church, there's the sanctuary and then there's the pulpit, and everybody respects that. Everybody knows that listen, that's where the priest or the pastor does his or her work. You know what I mean? And you respect that. You know what I mean? It's to be respected. Outsiders should not be back there unless they're already worked into an angle, which he was not at first. Roger Jackson. You know what I mean? He was back there. He was walking around, so people assumed he was a wrestler, and they worked an angle with him with the beer, right? The beer can. But don't assume that he's that. You know what I mean? Because he may not be, and he wasn't. He walked up to him and he did an angle. He worked an angle with him with a gimmick beer can. You don't do that because not everybody. You don't know the guy's psychological profile. You don't know how the guy will respond to certain things of that nature. You know what I mean? You don't cross that line. You get his approval. And that's what was missing in this. It's communication all around. Communication between Roger Jackson and Psycho Stu, communication with the promotion and Roger Jackson, communication with the promotion and and Psycho Stu. Like nobody was communicating. In the New Jack case, people were communicating, but the guy was lying. So that's a little bit different. With this, it was just a real big communication problem. But like all you had to do if you're Roger, is just knock him the fuck out. Like that would have been good enough. Knocking him the fuck out. Like you didn't have to try to kill the guy. You know what I mean? He used excessive force. You know what I mean? He used excessive force. When even in the MMA world, it's real and stuff. It's a competition, but a guy gets knocked out. A guy gets, you know, and what does the ref do? Like uh, Big John McCarthy and stuff. They tell a guy, listen, go into your respective corner. Even in boxing, you don't try to kill the person. That's even bad fighter etiquette in the worlds of in the real competitive combat sports of mixed martial arts and boxing. You don't go that far. You know what I mean? You don't try to kill the person. It would have been fucked up if he knocked him out, but at least they would have lived to fight another day. He'll probably live. I don't think that he didn't die. You know what I mean? Thank God. But you don't kill somebody. You know what I mean? This is not Rocky Four. This is real life. You know, I could have just knocked him out. That's what I think they thought he was gonna do. You know what I mean? They knew he was gonna go in there and hit him with a live round, but they thought, fuck it, he'll just knock him out, right? But what he did was he fucking mauled him, right? He mauled him alive, right? He fucking there was an incident in 2008 in Connecticut. I think it was 2008 or 9 in Connecticut where this chimpanzee fucking mauled this lady's face off. Like that's what he was. That's what he basically was doing. He basically wilded out when he just fucking, started taking out all his aggression on the poor guy. You know what I mean? And that happened in WWE before. We all remember this one SmackDown where Daniel Puder. It didn't happen this bad, but Daniel Puder had a shoot. Kurt Angle was doing a shoot match, and Daniel Puder actually took Kurt Angle down. You know what I mean? Here WWE's hyping Kurt Angle up as this Olympic champion, this great shooter, and Daniel Puder just took his ass down. And WWE had to quote notable and pretend like, Kurt Angle won and pinning Daniel Puder's shoulders to the mat. But again, you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't as bad as this. What went down here was like total irresponsibility on the part of the promotion. And they're a WWE linked promotion with Rikishi. Total irresponsibility on everybody's part. You know what I mean? Like I said, professional wrestling works because there's communication between all the participants, the booker, the wrestlers in the ring via the referee. That's how wrestling works. You know what I mean? And professional fighting, whether it's boxing or MMA, works because, again, even though they're really fighting and they're really trying to hurt each other and they're really competing, they're not trying to kill each other. So either way you look at this was some punk shit. You know what I mean? It's worse because it's wrestling. You know what I mean? But it's some punk shit regardless because you could have just knocked him out and that would have been the end of it. You didn't have to fucking try to kill the motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, you revealed yourself to be a criminal instead of a fighter or a worker or anything, a decent person. You know, you know what I mean? But again, on Psycho Stu's side, he should have asked around, who's this guy? You know what I mean? Is he a worker? Can I do this with him? Can I perform? Can I run this angle, this beer angle with him? If not, then you shouldn't be doing it because not everybody responds the same way to what they perceive as disrespect. You know what I mean? Not everybody is the same way. You know what I mean? People have different fuses, right? And you have to understand that. Everybody ain't playing. You know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, you never got into play fights with people because when you got into play fights with people, right, it would often escalate into real violence. You know what I mean? Some people are mentally unstable. And sometimes people will lose their cool in a mentally unstable situation. It happens a lot. And you just got to be careful. The promotion should have took more precaution. is what I say. It's kind of similar to the like what happened in the New York City subway with that incident where that guy was trying to restrain the guy and he ended up choking him to death. Jordan Neely, the Michael Jackson impersonator. Sometimes people will lose their cool in the heat of the situation. You never know. But in this, it's supposed to be a controlled environment. This is supposed to be entertainment. You know what I mean? You don't go that far. And somebody should have stepped in and be like, hey, wait a minute. This is a wrestling match. Stop doing this. You're almost killing the guy. And nobody stepped in, nobody did shit. They all pushed out. You know what I mean? There was no camaraderie in that locker room, obviously. Anyway, guys, peace. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Oh, you're starting up. Let me fucking sleep.